The quantum sensors aboard the Empirical Truth detected the transmission at precisely 3:47 ship standard time. Chief Xenoanthropologist Zixtal was awakened from their rest cycle by a priority alert, the neural implants beneath their silver facial plates tingling with the automated signal. Analysis indicates cultural data packet. The ship's AI reported as Zixtal entered the primary research bay. Origin: Uncharted System J4721. Species Self-Identifier: Human. Zixtal's four-fingered hand glided over the holographic interface. Display content summary. The wall-sized screen illuminated with a categorized index. Zixtal's compound eyes narrowed at the largest category: fairy tales. Cultural narratives. Begin decryption and translation, Zixtal ordered. The AI complied, but 17 seconds into the process, something unprecedented occurred. The ship's lighting flickered, and unauthorized holograms materialized throughout the research bay. A bipedal canine in antiquated clothing stalking a small red-hooded figure, diminutive beings extracting gemstones from subterranean environments. A female with biologically impossible hair extending from a primitive stone structure. Security breach, Zixtal shouted, slapping the emergency override. The holograms vanished, but not before 3 junior researchers had witnessed them. Quarantine all received data, came Commander Vexnar's voice from the doorway. The commander's ceremonial scars pulsed with angry bioluminescence as he surveyed the disrupted lab. Report, Chief Xenoanthropologist. Zixtal straightened to formal posture. We've intercepted cultural transmissions from a previously unknown species, Commander. During decryption, the ship's AI experienced a malfunction and generated unauthorized sensory data. Malfunction. Vexnar's voice carried the edge that had made him legendary among the Confederation fleet. Our systems do not malfunction, Chief. They are corrupted, attacked, or sabotaged. The corruption appears to originate from the content itself, Zixtal explained, bringing up the first translated file. These humans transmit narratives they call fairy tales that deliberately violate physical laws and biological reality. Commander Vexnar reviewed the data, his expression darkening with each passing moment. Impossible. No sentient species would deliberately create false recordings of reality. Yet they appear to have advanced technology, Zixtal noted, displaying intercepted satellite imagery of human space stations. They have achieved space travel while maintaining these cognitive anomalies. Your assessment, Vexnar demanded. Zixtal hesitated, knowing the implications. 2 possibilities, Commander. Either these humans possess some form of reality manipulation that allows them to violate natural law. A Class 1 threat to Confederation stability, Vexnar interrupted. Or they suffer from species-wide cognitive dissonance that allows them to simultaneously hold contradictory beliefs about reality. Vexnar's expression hardened. Deploy cloaked probes. Full spectrum analysis of their world. All research personnel are restricted to isolation protocols until we determine if these fairy tales represent a mimetic contagion. As the commander left, Zixtal returned to the translated files. One particular narrative had caught their attention: a female rendered comatose by a primitive toxin, revived by physical contact with a stranger. The premise violated every principle of medical science, yet Zixtal found themselves unable to stop analyzing it. 3 research cycles later, with the entire science division now under restricted protocols, Zixtal presented their findings to the Confederation Security Council. The resulting debate lasted less than 1 standard time unit. The evidence is compelling, announced High Counselor Mirzik. These humans represent either a significant threat or a significant anomaly. Either warrants immediate intervention. First contact protocols are authorized. Commander Vexnar looked pleased, but Zixtal felt an unfamiliar sensation in their thoracic cavity, a physiological response with no logical basis. Later, alone in their quarters, they realized what it was: the first recorded instance of anticipation in their species' emotional spectrum. Something about these impossible human fairy tales had awakened something long dormant in Zixtal's neural pathways. As the empirical truth altered course toward the human homeworld, Zixtal wondered if perhaps they were not the only ones about to discover a new world. The crystalline ship descended through Earth's atmosphere with deliberate theatricality, its prismatic surface refracting sunlight into dazzling patterns across Paris's skyline. Crowds gathered around the UNESCO headquarters as the vessel settled with impossible precision onto the expansive courtyard, not disturbing a single decorative shrub. Dr. Elena Mercer fidgeted with her translation device, watching diplomatic staff scurry about in barely concealed panic. She hadn't expected to be here. A linguist whose unorthodox theories on narrative cognition had effectively exiled her from serious academic consideration. Yet when alien translators proved eerily proficient in Earth languages, but completely bewildered by metaphor, the UN had desperately summoned her. "Remember," General Hayes muttered beside her, "these beings have interstellar travel. Show appropriate deference." Elena bit back a retort as the alien vessel's exterior shimmered, revealing an opening. Commander Vexnar emerged first, his imposing figure clad in what appeared to be living metal that pulsed with internal light. Behind him followed a smaller alien with silver plates embedded in bluish facial tissue. Zixtal, according to the briefing materials. The initial exchange of formal greetings proceeded smoothly enough, until Elena noticed Zixtal becoming increasingly agitated during the human ambassador's welcome speech. "You claim to extend the hand of friendship," the alien xenoanthropologist interrupted. "Yet you make no physical gesture with your upper appendages. Is this deliberate deception?" An uncomfortable silence fell over the assembly. "It's a figure of speech," Elena found herself saying, stepping forward despite the general's warning glare. "A metaphorical expression." "Metaphorical?" Commander Vexnar pronounced the word like it was toxic. "You mean false." The diplomatic session deteriorated rapidly after that. Each human attempt at explanation seemed to offend the aliens more deeply. By midday, Commander Vexnar was demanding access to Earth's reality distortion technology, convinced humans possessed some means of manipulating physical laws that the Confederation had not discovered. "Your species transmits recordings of animals engaging in bipedal locomotion and verbal communication," Vexnar stated during a particularly tense exchange. "Either you possess the technology to enable this contrary-to-nature phenomenon, or you deliberately disseminate falsehoods to your population. Which is it?" Elena, watching the UN diplomats flounder, made a split-second decision. "Once upon a time," she began loudly, drawing all eyes in the room, "there were 3 little pigs." The aliens froze, their posture shifting to what Elena recognized as their alert stance. She continued the children's story, watching their reactions with clinical interest. By the time she reached the wolf's huffing and puffing, Zixtal had activated some sort of scanning device, while Vexnar's facial bioluminescence had intensified to an alarming degree. "This is unconscionable," Vexnar declared when she finished. "You indoctrinate your young with fabricated scenarios designed to instill fear of outsiders and promote resource-inefficient construction practices." "It's a teaching tool," Elena countered. "We use narratives to convey concepts indirectly." "You mean you manipulate cognitive development through falsified data?" Zixtal interjected, suddenly interested. "A form of neural programming." Later, alone with Elena in the hastily established Xenocultural Exchange Center, Zixtal revealed a disturbing development. "I have been authorized to conduct neural scans on human subjects as they consume these fairy tales," the alien explained, displaying equipment that resembled elegant silver spiders. "Commander Vexnar believes your species represents a potential mimetic contagion." "That's invasive and presumptuous," Elena replied sharply. Zixtal's compound eyes focused on her with unexpected intensity. "You do not understand. My species has no equivalent to your dreams or imagination. We experience reality as it is, never as it could be." "That sounds limiting," Elena said carefully. "Perhaps," Zixtal responded, lowering their voice. I have been analyzing your sleeping beauty. The concept of consciousness continuing during biological stasis. It has created anomalous neural activity in my cognitive centers. Outside the window, Alina noticed new research platforms appearing in Earth's orbit, sleek, predatory shapes that military analysts had identified as weapon systems. Commander Vexnar was preparing for containment, not contact. Zixtal, she said urgently, I need you to meet someone who might help us both understand what's happening. This constitutes a direct violation of diplomatic protocols, Zixtal said, yet made no move to alert Confederation security as Alina's autonomous vehicle sped away from the monitored zone. Sometimes rules need breaking, Alina replied, checking her comm device nervously, especially when the alternative is interstellar conflict. The sprawling countryside gave way to a small coastal town where colorful banners featuring cartoon characters hung from lampposts. Alina parked outside a modern building shaped like an open book. Middlebrook Elementary, she explained. We're meeting Aiden Kim here. Kim. Zixtal's implants flickered as they searched their database. The human who constructs elaborate falsehoods for immature specimens. The children's author, Alina corrected with a smile. One of our best. Inside, a man with wire-rimmed glasses and a worn leather jacket was setting up equipment in the school's auditorium. His eyes widened at the sight of the alien. You actually brought one, he whispered to Alina. I thought you were joking. Aiden, meet Zixtal, chief cynoanthropologist of the Galactic Confederation. Zixtal, this is Aiden Kim. The alien inclined their head. Your fabrications have been particularly disruptive to our preliminary cultural analysis. The one involving diminutive forest dwellers assisting a female experiencing toxic somnolence was especially concerning. Aiden blinked. Snow White. That's flattering, I guess. Aiden was a child psychologist before becoming an author, Alina explained. He understands how stories shape developing minds. Until my license was revoked, Aiden added with a self-deprecating smile. Turns out suggesting children need more fairy tales and fewer pharmaceuticals isn't popular in certain circles. Children began filing into the auditorium, their excited chatter dying down at the sight of Zixtal. The alien stood rigidly as small humans circled them with undisguised curiosity. Are you from outer space? A young girl asked, tugging at Zixtal's metallic garment. Before Zixtal could respond, Aiden clapped his hands. Everyone take your places. Today we're testing something special. The interactive narrative engine. The lights dimmed. At the center of the room, a holographic projection formed, a simple cottage in a forest. The children settled onto cushions surrounding it, while Alina guided Zixtal to a position with optimal viewing. Once upon a time, Aiden began, activating his equipment. There lived a woodcutter's daughter named Lila who dreamed of becoming a healer. The hologram responded, generating a young girl character gathering herbs near the cottage. Alina watched Zixtal closely, noting how the alien's compound eyes tracked every detail. But the forest held many dangers, Aiden continued, including a fearsome dragon that breathed poison instead of fire. A menacing shape appeared among the trees, causing several children to gasp. One boy raised his hand. What if the dragon is sick? He suggested. Maybe that's why its breath is poison. Aiden smiled. What do you think, Maya? He asked a girl nearby. I think the dragon needs medicine, Maya replied confidently. Leela should help it instead of running away. The hologram shimmered, adjusting to the children's input. The dragon's appearance softened, now looking pained rather than threatening. Zixtal leaned forward, facial plates pulsing rapidly. The children are altering the fabrication. They're co-creating, Alina explained softly. They understand it's not real, but they're still emotionally invested. As the story progressed, the children continually redirected it. When the village wanted to kill the dragon, Maya suggested healing it instead. When another child proposed building a wall to keep the dragon out, a heated debate ensued about whether isolation solved anything. Zixtal's monitoring device recorded intensifying neural activity among the children, but also within their own brain. When the story culminated with Leela creating medicine that transformed the dragon's poison breath into healing mist, something unprecedented happened. A single drop of moisture escaped Zixtal's ocular cavity. "Your environmental control is malfunctioning," they stated, touching the liquid with evident confusion. "Those are tears," Elena whispered. "You're experiencing empathy." Across the room, the alien delegation's comm units simultaneously activated with an override signal. Commander Vexnar's voice emerged, cold and precise. "Return to base immediately. Human cognitive contamination has been confirmed. Containment protocols are being initiated." Through the window, Elena saw military vehicles approaching the school. Simultaneously, her personal device displayed an emergency alert. Alien weapons platforms had begun activating in orbit. Aiden caught her eye. "I hope you have a backup plan," he said quietly, "because I think we just made things worse." "Containment protocols can wait," Zixtal transmitted to Confederation security, surprising even themselves with the defiance. "I am conducting critical research that may redefine our understanding of cognitive evolution." The hastily established laboratory beneath the UN complex hummed with equipment as Elena paced nervously. Military officials monitored the situation from behind reinforced glass, their expressions grim. After the school incident, only Zixtal's senior rank had prevented immediate escalation to military confrontation. "Are you certain about this?" Elena asked, eyeing the neural interface Zixtal was preparing. A delicate crown of silver filaments that would connect their alien neural pathways directly to a human EEG system. "Observational data is insufficient," Zixtal replied. "Direct neural comparison is required to understand the anomalies I've experienced." Aiden adjusted the final calibrations on his equipment. "This will allow Zixtal to experience how a human brain processes fairy tales, while we monitor the effects on their neural structure in real time." "If Commander Vexnar discovers this," Elena began. "He is occupied with the Confederation Council," Zixtal interrupted. "They debate whether humanity represents a mimetic threat requiring." They paused, seemingly struggling with the translation. Sterilization. Elena and Aiden exchanged horrified glances. "Then we don't have much time," Aiden said, activating the interface. "I've selected Beauty and the Beast for its strong transformative metaphors." As the neural linkage established, Zixtal's body went rigid, silver plates fluctuating wildly. On the monitoring screens, chaotic patterns erupted as human narrative cognition collided with alien neural architecture. "Shut down immediately," shouted a military observer, but Elena blocked their path to the equipment. "Wait," she urged, pointing to the displays. "Look at the patterns." Amid the chaos, ordered structures were emerging, new neural pathways forming in Zixtal's brain, mirroring human imagination centers. The alien began to convulse violently, then collapsed. For 17 excruciating seconds, no one moved. Then Zixtal's eyes opened. "I saw it," they whispered, voice modulating strangely. "Not just processed the information. I saw the castle, the rose, the transformation. Experienced emotional response to fictional entities." "That's impossible," General Hayes muttered from the observation area. "Their species doesn't have the neurological structures for imagination." "Correction," Zixtal said, struggling to stand. "Evidence suggests we once did." While medical staff examined Zixtal, Elena sneaked away to the alien vessel, using access codes the xenanthropologist had provided. In the ship's historical archives, she discovered records deliberately quarantined from general access, evolutionary data showing that the Confederation's ancestors had possessed imagination centers similar to humans, but had systematically bred them out through genetic engineering. They considered it dangerous, Elena explained later, showing her findings to Aiden in a secured room. Imagination led to conflict, to challenging authority, to infrastructure inefficiency. They sacrificed creativity for stability. Aiden concluded, and it worked, until they encountered problems that couldn't be solved with linear thinking. Meanwhile, Zixtal presented the brain scan comparisons to a hastily assembled scientific committee. The scans showed irrefutable evidence. Human imagination activated the same neural pathways used for predictive modeling and complex problem-solving, but extended them beyond known parameters. Humans simulate not just what is and has been, Zixtal explained, but what could be, no matter how improbable. As the committee absorbed this revelation, alarms blared throughout the complex. On monitors across the room, classified data from the Confederation archives appeared. Data Elena had managed to hack and broadcast simultaneously to human and alien networks. The data revealed what Vexnar had been desperately trying to hide. Despite the Confederation's technological head start, their development had plateaued for millennia. Their inability to imagine beyond existing paradigms had created a species-wide stagnation. Commander Vexnar burst into the chamber, rage evident in his bioluminescent patterns. "You have committed treason against the Confederation," he snarled at Zixtal. "No," Zixtal replied calmly. "I've discovered what we lost, and what the humans never did." Outside, protests erupted among humans aware of the weapons platforms, while aboard Confederation vessels, junior scientists began questioning centuries of dogma. The question that now burned through both species was unavoidable. Was imagination an evolutionary advantage that the aliens had sacrificed, or a dangerous liability that humans had failed to outgrow? Security breach in progress, blared the automated system as emergency lights bathed the corridor in pulsating crimson. Commander Vexnar's elite guard units moved with cold precision, sealing off sections of the diplomatic compound one by one. "Find the xenoanthropologist and the human linguist," Vexnar ordered, his ceremonial battle scars glowing with intensified bioluminescence. "Neural sanitization protocols are authorized." Across the compound, Elena frantically downloaded stolen Confederation data onto a quantum storage device as Aiden barricaded the door. "How much time?" she asked, glancing at the progress indicator. "Minutes, if we're lucky," Aiden replied, repurposing communication equipment into a makeshift signal jammer. "Zixtal was supposed to meet us here an hour ago." "Zixtal has been apprehended," came a voice from the ventilation system. A panel slid open, revealing the junior alien researcher with distinctive purple markings. "I am Krulvox, research assistant. Several of us disagree with the commander's actions." The alien slithered into the room, carrying what appeared to be a neural interface similar to the one used in their earlier experiment. "Zixtal is being held in neural isolation," Krulvox explained. "The commander claims they are suffering from cognitive contamination, but many of us suspect he fears what Zixtal has discovered." A distant explosion shook the building. "That would be our military responding to your orbital weapons activation," Aiden said grimly. "We're running out of time." Belena's terminal chimed. "Download complete," she announced, securing the device. "But what good is this information if we can't share it widely enough to matter?" Krulvox extended a data tendril from their neural augmentation. "There is something else you should see. Something the commander has been concealing even from Confederation High Command." The alien projected a stellar chart showing a massive anomaly approaching Confederation space, a quantum filament storm capable of destabilizing the fabric of space-time itself. "It follows a predictable cycle," Krulvox explained. "Our historical records show it has appeared every 12,000 stellar cycles. The last occurrence nearly destroyed our civilization." "Let me guess," Elena said. "Your scientists can't find a solution." "Correct. Despite centuries of preparation, our linear analytical approaches have failed. The commander fears that acknowledging this failure would create systemic instability." Another explosion, closer this time. Security alerts indicated that Confederation forces have begun deploying energy barriers around Earth's major cities. "The quarantine has begun," Krulvox said bleakly. Soon your planet will be completely isolated from galactic society. Elena studied the stellar data, a desperate plan forming. Your species encountered this phenomenon before developing imagination suppression, didn't they? How did they survive it then? Krulvox's neural implants flickered as they accessed restricted archives. Unknown. Those records were selectively preserved, meaning Vexnar deleted anything that didn't fit his narrative, Aiden concluded. Classic authoritarian information control. The door's integrity field flickered as Confederation security began breaking through. They had minutes at most. I have an idea, Elena said suddenly. But it requires reaching the main communication array on their flagship. Impossible, Krulvox stated. Security protocols are based on linear thinking, Elena interrupted. But we don't think linearly. She turned to Aiden. Remember how Jack and the Beanstalk ends. The impossible approach succeeds because it's the one nobody expects. Understanding dawned on Aiden's face, using their assumptions against them. Brilliant. They worked rapidly, Aiden adapting the neural interface while Elena encoded a message using fairy tale structures as encryption. When Confederation security finally breached the door, they found only abandoned equipment. Aboard the orbiting flagship, Commander Vexnar received the alert with cold satisfaction. Earth's quarantine was 64% complete, with full isolation projected within 8 standard hours. The human threat would be contained, and his position in the Confederation secured. Commander, a subordinate reported, we're detecting unusual neural activity in multiple sectors. Junior researchers are sharing stories. Vexnar's eyes narrowed. Lock down all communication systems. Initiate full neural purge of any personnel showing anomalous activity. Sir, the subordinate hesitated. That would include approximately 37% of our crew. As Vexnar absorbed this, his private terminal activated unexpectedly. Zixtal's face appeared, though the xenoanthropologist was supposedly in isolation. Too late, Commander, Zixtal said, their voice oddly inflected with something Vexnar had never heard in their species before. Hope. The humans have taught us how to imagine, and we're quick learners. I don't understand how humans do this constantly, Krulvox whispered, tucked into a maintenance duct aboard the Confederation flagship. Creating plans with so many potential points of failure violates every principle of strategic optimization. That's exactly why it works, Elena replied, consulting the stolen schematics on her device. Your security systems are designed to detect logical approaches. Their unlikely infiltration team, 3 sympathetic alien scientists, Elena and Aiden, had used maintenance drones to reach the ship undetected, a method so inefficient no Confederation security protocol had been programmed to consider it. We have 18 minutes before the next security sweep, Aiden warned, monitoring ship systems through a hacked terminal. The quantum communication array is 3 levels up. Meanwhile, in the ship's primary detention chamber, Zixtal sat motionless in neural isolation. To any observer, the xenoanthropologist appeared subdued by the suppression field. But internally, Zixtal was experiencing something unprecedented. Deprived of sensory input, their mind had begun generating its own stimuli, spontaneous neural patterns resembling human dreams. The Jack protocol is working, Krulvox reported, using the fairy tale code name they'd assigned their plan. Zixtal's message has fragmented through the ship's communication system. Researchers across 17 sectors are receiving pieces of human fairy tales encrypted in standard data packets. And the quantum filament data? Elena asked. Uploading now, but the Confederation Council will require more than information to act against Commander Vexnar. They'll demand evidence that human cognitive patterns offer a viable solution. They'd reached the communication array, a crystalline, chamber housing a luminous structure that pulsed with quantum entanglement. Aiden immediately began integrating their modified interfaces, while Elena prepared the data package they'd assembled. Complete analysis of the approaching stellar phenomenon, combined with a theoretical solution derived from principles in Jack and the Beanstalk. The human solution proposes harnessing the quantum filament's own energy against itself, Krulvox explained to the other alien scientists, their voice tinged with unfamiliar excitement, like the giant falling from the beanstalk. It's illogical, yet the simulations suggest a 78% probability of success. That's the essence of human problem-solving, Elena said. We don't just extrapolate from what is, we imagine what could be, even when it seems impossible. The chamber door suddenly disintegrated, revealing Commander Vexnar flanked by security drones. The impossible is merely the unobserved, Vexnar stated coldly, and some things remain impossible regardless of observation. He activated a device that paralyzed the alien scientists instantly, like your attempt to corrupt our evolutionary advantages with human cognitive contamination. Elena and Aiden backed toward the quantum array, but there was nowhere to run. You've failed to understand the fundamental truth, Vexnar continued. Our species eliminated imagination because it leads to chaos, to rebellion, to inefficiency. We chose stability. You chose stagnation, came Zixtal's voice from behind him. Vexnar turned, shocked to see the xenanthropologist standing unrestrained. The neural suppression works only on neural patterns it can recognize, Zixtal finished. My patterns have evolved. Throughout the ship, alarms suddenly blared as thousands of data terminals simultaneously displayed the same message, the complete historical record of the Confederation's genetic modification program, alongside evidence that previous stellar phenomena had been survived through creative, non-linear approaches deliberately erased from history. I've transmitted everything to both the Confederation Council and Earth's networks, Zixtal announced, including your suppression of solutions to the approaching quantum filament. Vexinar's face contorted with rage. You've doomed us to chaos. No, Elena interjected, stepping forward fearlessly. We've given you back what you lost, the ability to imagine beyond the limitations of what is, to envision what could be. On the quantum array's display, signals appeared from across Confederation space as scientists began responding to the human solution, building upon it with tentative, unpracticed imagination of their own. The Council has called an emergency session, Krulvox reported, recovering from the paralysis. They're requesting human representatives to present the solution formally. This changes nothing, Vexnar said bitterly. Imagination is a primitive evolutionary stage we transcended. Then why? Zixtal asked with genuine curiosity. Did you need to erase all evidence that it once saved us? The Confederation Council chamber resembled a vast crystalline amphitheater, with 12 ancient high counselors arrayed in tiered semicircles. Elena and Aiden stood at the center with Zixtal, facing scrutiny from the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The evidence presented is troubling, High Counselor Merzik acknowledged, neural implants pulsing as they processed the historical data. If authentic, it suggests deliberate suppression of our evolutionary history. The data is authentic, Zixtal confirmed. And more critically, the quantum filament approaches. We have 17 standard cycles before it reaches Confederation core systems. Holoprojections displayed the stellar phenomenon, a cascading wave of energy that distorted spacetime itself. Simulation models showed devastating consequences, planets rendered uninhabitable, space travel impossible for generations. The human solution appears unorthodox, another counselor stated dubiously. That's precisely why it might work, Elena explained. Your scientists approach the problem linearly, trying to deflect or avoid the filament. We propose harnessing its own energy to create a subspace matrix that would channel the distortion safely away from inhabited systems. Like climbing a beanstalk to steal from a giant, Aiden added, then cutting it down so the giant falls instead of you. The counselors exchanged troubled glances at this metaphorical reasoning, but before they could respond, emergency alerts blared throughout the chamber. The quantum filament had accelerated unexpectedly, collapsing distance through spacetime. It would reach critical systems within hours, not days. We must implement the human solution immediately, Zixtal urged. After momentary deliberation, the Council authorized emergency protocols. Elena and Aiden found themselves aboard the Confederation's premier research vessel, surrounded by the most advanced scientists in the galaxy, yet looking to human imagination for salvation. The implementation requires precise timing. Elena explained as they programmed the massive energy collectors. We're essentially creating a subspace tripwire that will cause the filament to collapse in on itself. Despite skepticism, the alien scientists followed their instructions, constructing a network of quantum resonators at key coordinates. As deployment completed, the filament's leading edge became visible, a terrifying distortion of reality itself that seemed to bend light and matter in impossible ways. Initiating sequence, announced the ship's eye. The resonators activated in careful sequence, creating a precise pattern of subspace distortions. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then the equipment began to fail catastrophically. Energy levels exceeding predictive models, reported a technician as control panels overloaded. Structural integrity compromised. It's not working, Aiden realized with horror. The resonators are amplifying the filament instead of redirecting it. As system after system failed, Zixtal suddenly pushed forward, neural implants glowing intensely. I see it now, they whispered, hands dancing across the controls with unprecedented speed. Your fairy tale metaphor. It's not about cutting down the beanstalk. It's about planting the seeds. Zixtal reconfigured the entire network in seconds, implementing a solution that neither human nor alien had envisioned alone. A hybrid approach combining human metaphorical thinking with alien precision. The ship trembled as the filament's edge made contact with the first resonator. Instead of destruction, however, something miraculous occurred. The energy began flowing through the network, creating a luminous web of interconnected pathways throughout Confederation space. It's creating the neural network, Elena breathed in wonder. A galaxy-wide quantum consciousness. As the pattern stabilized, an unexpected side effect rippled through every Confederation world. Aliens who had never dreamed suddenly awakened from sleep cycles with visions. Children began creating spontaneous artwork. Scientists reported unprecedented intuitive leaps in their research. Aboard the command ship, Commander Vexnar made one final desperate attempt to preserve evolutionary purity. He overrode security protocols, intending to destroy the network before it could fully form. You don't understand what you're awakening, he snarled at Zixtal. Once unleashed, imagination cannot be controlled. That is precisely the point, Zixtal replied calmly, effortlessly countering Vexnar's commands with newly intuitive programming. Control was never the answer, balance was. As the quantum network completed its formation, Vexnar watched in despair as his crew members looked at the stars with newfound wonder in their compound eyes. The evolutionary suppression of millennia unraveled in moments, releasing the creative potential of an entire civilization. What have you done? Vexnar whispered. We remembered who we were, Zixtal answered, and who we could be. One standard solar cycle after the quantum filament event, Earth had transformed from an isolated curiosity to the cultural nexus of galactic civilization. The newly established Intergalactic Library of Imagination stood on the former site of UNESCO headquarters in Paris, its crystalline organic architecture representing the harmonious blend of human creativity and Confederation precision. Elena watched from the grand observatory as ships from across the galaxy arrived daily, carrying visitors eager to experience humanity's storytelling traditions firsthand. Below in the library's central chamber, alien children gathered around human storytellers, their compound eyes wide with wonder at tales of glass slippers and enchanted forests. Still difficult to believe, Zixtal remarked, joining her at the viewport. The xenoanthropologist's neural implants had evolved dramatically, now resembling elegant silver filigree rather than utilitarian plates. An entire civilization reawakened through narrative structures. Stories were always how we understood ourselves, Elena replied. They're how we rehearse possibilities without having to live through them first. The quantum network that had saved the Confederation from destruction continued to evolve, creating pathways of thought and innovation that transcended physical distance. Scientists across thousands of worlds reported simultaneous breakthroughs, as if participating in a single distributed consciousness. Art forms emerged that combined alien precision with human emotional resonance, creating experiences that neither species could have conceived alone. The Cosmic Fairy Tales project is ready for its first publication, Aiden announced, approaching with a data crystal. His former role as children's author had expanded dramatically. He now coordinated teams of human and alien storytellers, creating new mythologies that incorporated both cultures. "Have you selected an opening tale?" Zixtal asked. "Yes," Aiden smiled. "Yours." That evening, in a private ceremony attended by representatives from 27 species, Zixtal nervously presented their creation. The tale was structurally simple, but contained metaphorical depths that resonated across biological differences, a story about two halves of a divided star that spent eons searching for each other, only to discover that their separation had allowed each to develop qualities the other needed. As the story concluded, many listeners, human and alien alike, displayed the universal signifiers of emotional impact. Tears, bioluminescent pulsing, chromatophore rippling, and neural synchronization registered across species supposedly too different to share emotional experiences. "I never imagined," Zixtal began, then smiled at the unintended wordplay. "I never conceived that my narrative construct would elicit such cross-species response." "That's the real magic of stories," Elena told them. "They bridge the spaces between minds, between worlds, between what is and what could be." Across the galaxy on a remote outpost, former Commander Vexnar lived in self-imposed isolation. His request for exile, rather than neural adjustment, had been granted out of respect for his centuries of service. A single automated delivery drone provided necessities to his austere dwelling on an uninhabited moon. The day's delivery included, as usual, updates on Confederation activities. Reports he reflexively reviewed despite his disgust at the contamination of his civilization. Among the data packets was an unrequested file, the first volume of Cosmic Fairy Tales. Vexnar intended to delete it immediately. Yet something, curiosity, perhaps that first dangerous spark of imagination, stayed his hand. As twin suns set over the barren landscape, he opened the file and began to read. Dawn found him surrounded by crude sketches drawn with mineral pigments on his shelter walls, childlike renderings of characters from Zixtal's story. In one trembling hand, he held a writing implement poised over a blank surface. After millennia of evolutionary suppression, the most fundamental human activity, creating something from nothing, stirred within him. "Once upon a time," he wrote hesitantly, "deep within Earth's oldest archaeological sites and in long-abandoned ruins on the Confederation homeworld, researchers simultaneously uncovered artifacts bearing identical symbols, evidence of an ancient shared heritage. Cave paintings depicting humanoid figures standing beneath two joined stars, with matching iconography despite evolving on worlds separated by countless light years. The quantum filament hadn't just saved civilization. It had reunited two evolutionary branches severed eons ago when their shared ancestors scattered across the stars. Imagination and logic, the twin stars of consciousness, had finally found their way back to each other.